episode of Westward, Dead Reckoning. First off, let me say howdy to everybody. Hiya, Ghost.
Hi.
Hiya there, Cypher.
Hello, Mr. GM.
Hiya there, missing people. For those of you curious, we had 3 people, due to real-life circumstances, unable to attend. Chris, of course, has started a new job, so his hours are proving to be cumbersome at best to juggle around, but that should be taken care of our next session. Spaz had a real-life game that he had to prep for, otherwise he'd be here. And our newest addition, Demigod Art, who will be here the next session. He sadly got called into what appears to be some kind of military duty that was unexpected. But all good on all accounts, because this session is going to probably be very short, though hopefully very informative. As you can see on the screen, we're currently at our little saloon hangout, kind of our main screen section. In order to recap our last session, in case y'all can't remember, it started off pretty simple. You woke up, had a cup of coffee, some breakfast, shot the shit a little bit with Cookie and Harry and Bull. And as breakfast was starting to wind down, y'all started to notice that half your group was missing. And in addition to that, you started to notice that something was starting to spook your horses. Going to investigate this, you ran into a hidden monstrosity known as a gorger, which, upon its discovery, decided to do a massive Pac-Man attack and charge through the gate and start munching on Zeke's horse.
Fucking gorger.
I think we all quickly learned that gorgers are very nasty critters with very thick hides. And upon seeing most of your weapons were ineffective, good old Dickie Fumbles decided to rush up, shove a shotgun up its ass, and blow its brains out to its face. A little bit of reverse engineering there, if you will.
Dang old Dickie does it, that's right.
Exactamundo. Now, upon having killed the gorger, you started to wind down a little bit again, and then you noticed that other creatures were starting to approach. About that time, upon a couple of players PMing me that it was getting late and they needed to go to bed, we did a quick wrap-up stating that instead of encountering the second group of creatures, that simply Ningo and the party members had ridden back, scaring off whatever creatures were coming up. And after a quick reprimand, y'all basically ended the session there. As such, you'll probably hear a little bit of this, but in a more proper narration as the game begins. This being said, go ahead and everyone over to our only screen. I gave you a little bit of a new layout and some better music in my mind. Get the screen situated with y'all's ring of people in the circle. Because I got one pop-up that'll pop up eventually.
Rojo number 1, Rojo number 2.
Yeah, I figured... I basically realized that in my previous attempts to make tokens, I did not share their names or health bars with you. So hopefully you all now see names under their icons as well as health bars over their heads.
Yep.
Alrighty. Starting scene, you all basically can be gathered around the campfire. And start to begin once I find a decent speaking voice. Let's go ahead. Kapowie. Screen up. should be able to hear horses, some music, a little campfire. Nor the picture that's showing that it's nighttime. And let us begin. The morning sun has finally crested its highest points of the surrounding Badlands, and now beams down upon all inside the jury's camp with an unforgiving countenance. As your group slowly makes its way back to the alluring confines of Cookie's campfire, the thoughts of the previous ordeal which had just occurred quickly come flooding back into the forefront of your minds. What should have otherwise normally been a simple morning meal among associates quickly escalated into something much more than hopefully anticipated. It would appear that Mingo and most of the gang had secreted themselves off into parts unknown during the late hours of night, and had left the campsite without proper protection against neighboring predators. Now, whether the vacant ruffians' intentions of doing so were deliberate or not remains to be seen. But if it wasn't for a keen sense of hearing and some rather quick reflexes, your group's horses would have most assuredly been devoured by an extremely ravenous gorger. In the end, as luck would have it, your group managed to fell the lumbering beast, and upon pausing to reassess their newly acquired situation, ultimately denoted the sounds of other animals likewise trying to invade the camp. Fortunately for all parties involved, this is also the time that Mingo and the rest of your missing companions had most fortuitously chosen to return from their previous absence. The sounds of the group's horses, galloping hooves, quickly dispersed the encroaching pack of feral hounds, and upon the newcomers' arrival to try and greet their fellow outlaws, Mingo and his group were instantly met with the immediate disapproval of their other halves for having left them abandoned in the first place. Now, with the fleeting chance to try and explain their reasoning for being absent, a sulking band of rueful miscreants follows second in command back to the heart of your camp and relays a story about the departure. Hopefully that painted the picture in a better light than how it actually went down. Okay, as you can see, you're gathered around the campfire. Basically, as Mingo arrived, immediately met with anger and obstinance by Harry. Of course, yourselves, you also voiced your own disapproval. Buckshot Bill seemed to have gotten the shit end of the stick because it was his job to lay out the protective thumpers the previous night, and he apparently didn't. And as such, he was forced to give Ezekiel horse and recompensation for Zeke's horse having been killed by the gorger. Now, in everyone's minds, if the picture is all that stuff's going down, you're slowly to the camp. Mingo, though somewhat shocked by having just had his butt reamed, still seems quite animated and excited. Now, his group of followers, they're your typical lackeys. They're indifferent. Some of them seem to be making small talk about stuff that they did in town. You know, it's like Buckshot Bill. He's upset, still nursing some sore ribs and midsection from Harry having punched him in the belly. But he kind of snickers at the mention of the coochie clatch, which is, from y'all's own recollection, is a house found in a small town called Mercy. Now, Mercy itself is roughly about 3.5 hours ride down off the plateau you're currently on and into the valley proper. But we'll get more on Mercy in a little bit. As you come back to camp, you start getting situated. Cookie, of course, you know, he's totally ecstatic to see everybody all right, and he's doubly as such because the rest of the group's there. Without knowing exactly what all went on, he just immediately kicks into his typical routine. He's like, hey, the gang's up. Oh, come on, gather around. I still got some food. Don't worry, I'll heat it up if I need to. So let's get them fed. Come on now, gather around. Y'all find out what was wrong with the horses?
Yes, Cookie. Apparently, Mr. Bill over here was remiss in following his duties last night. Looks like he was out in town getting himself wasted and pleasured. Isn't that, Mr. Bill, what happened last night?
Buckshot don't say nothing. He just grumbles and hangs his head down low. Cookie's expression and reaction, of course, is immediately like wide-eyed and not really fearful, but just, in awe or shocked. He just goes, "What? What? No, say it ain't so. No, he should know better. Your boy should know better than that."
Oh, they should have, Cookie, they should have. But then again, not everyone in this group is as intelligent as they should be, now are they?
That's right, ain't nobody got Dickie smarts like Dickie got.
And Dickie here. Oh, Dickie here saved us, Cookie. We met something called a gorger. You should have seen it.
Oh, them things are huge. Says there was one out. That was what was spooking the horses.
Yes, sir. What, Cookie? I put my boomstick up his butt and gave it an animal.
You managed to kill one?
Yes, I did. I want that second breakfast, Cookie. Cookie, I want some breakfast.
Tarnations, huh? I ain't ever heard of nobody just killing one with pistols and rifles before.
Oh no, Cookie, it was more than a rifle. It was Mr. Dickie's shotgun. Both barrels. He unloaded both barrels into it. That was quite an achievement, Mr. Dickey.
Looks over at your overly long double-barrel shotgun and then looks at you covered in all the excrement and leftovers from such an endeavor. Kind of don't say nothing. He just kind of like goes tight-jawed and just kind of got that like oh look on his face. But as y'all are chatting, the rest of the group slowly starts to slink into their normal routine. Harry, he's over in the corner and he's just kind of like quietly conversing with Bull and pulls his nods a couple times. He's trying to get in the mood to deal with something. You can tell by the way he's gripping his hands back and forth. He's trying to cool down before he starts talking. As he's doing that, Baptiste is the first among everybody to slowly start slinking back his way over to Cookie, and he's just like going, smells good, Cookie. I see you made some bacon. Cookie's all like, yeah, go on, get you a plate. Go get you some up. I said, it might be a little cold, might be a little soggy, I don't know. He said, oh, Baptiste, thanks you, Cookie. Looks good. Rojo brothers, they pretty much just look at each other and mingo and make their way together pretty quiet. Start getting a plate. Mingo himself, he's holding off. Then comes Buckshot Bill. Buckshot Bill comes about the time that everybody starts eating their stuff. And he comes up, he goes to get him a plate, he grabs him a plate, and he goes to dip down some leftover beans and franks. That's when Harry just goes, you eat when you're done fixing the mess that you made from not being on guard duty. Buckshot just kind of looks, he says, you heard me. Get to the corral, mend the fence, clean up the gore, then you can eat.
Sounds like a coochie cleanser got his coochie cleansed.
A wise decision, Mr. Doyle. And Bill, while you're at it, would you mind brushing down my horse, please? I think she needs a good brushing down, don't you say?
It's one of those moments where he just snaps, looks, and he goes, what the fuck did you? Then he just stops, looks at Harry. going totally red in the face, like thick neck vein bulging type of holding your fucking anger inside. Then he just stops, don't say nothing, looks back to Harry and looks at his plate and his spoon of beans is slowly dripping on top of the plate. Just puts the ladle back down, swings his plate to the ground and spins around. Other members of the group, they kind of start snickering and looking amongst them. No sooner than they snicker and maybe get another bite of food into their bellies, Harry turns to them and he says, "You help them." They're all looking like, what? Basically, Harry let them get a bite or two into their stomachs and then told them to go ahead. Now, Mingo is, of course, standing there, and he's got all of the group now staring at him. He just kind of looks at Harry and looks at them, then ponders what he should do, and he ultimately just nods once, and they begrudgingly put their food down, scarfing down a couple bites real quick before it can, and they go to slink off. Mingo looks back at Harry, looks at him for a long time, and then turns to move and walk away, and Harry goes, "You stay here, Mingo. We've got words." Mingo's spurs stop as he's walking away, and he turns around, breathes one time really long, then he just cuts into his typical Cheshire cat smile, and he goes, "Anything you say, Jefe? You want Mingo to stay here and talk? I will talk." And Harry immediately goes, he's like, "Where the hell did you go last night, and why?" "As I said, Harry, I went to take the men into town for a little morale booster." Says, "Town? You mean Mercy?" He goes, "Yeah, Harry. We took him to Mercy. But do not worry, we did not go into the town. We did not cross no man's land." What he's referring to as no man's land and the town of Mercy is basically the point where, in their minds, their official jurisdiction. It's basically you go into a certain part of town. No man's land is where you have to turn in and go surrender your firearms. Basically, the cat house is right on the outskirts of that. It's still patrolled by the local law and all that stuff, but it's like, you know how it is. When you go into town, the whorehouses are always on the outskirts. The good ones might be inside, but usually they keep all their houses of ill repute and stuff all as far out on the perimeter as they can. But he says, "Yeah, I took the men in for a morale booster, and I went to go meet with someone I know." Harry just furrows his brow and looks at him. Mingo goes, No, do not worry. There is no conspiracies going on or anything like that. I said he is a mutual acquaintance, and he offered a little bit of information that I think that you would like very much, my friend." Harry just keeps looking, and y'all want to interject with anything, y'all can. Like I said, one thing I want to establish here, and also people that are playing the game or watching, just because I talk or just because of whatever, just because Harry's the leader of the gang, doesn't mean that y'all aren't your own entities, and also it doesn't mean this is not the Harry Doyle show. We're all active participants in the game. As such, you can be yourselves. Harry Doyle, in my mind, is a plot device that helps move the game onward. Mm-hmm. So essentially, y'all can be, y'all have free range of expression and speech. But seeing how he is the gang's leader, if you ever get to that point where you're starting to cross major boundaries and stuff like that, that's when Harry usually speaks up and goes, "Oh, enough of that shit. We got work to do, blah, blah, blah." Because I think last session, Cypher, you even mentioned it, I think in the video, we're trying to establish your own personal boundaries and whatnot. But yeah, as always, I don't want this to just be an NPC show. Even, of course, this session is going to be two people rambling back and forth. But y'all, by all means, feel free to jump in with your own thoughts and comments.
So, Zeke, when Mingo says that Mingo, you have friends, Mingo? I find that hard to believe.
Why is it so hard to believe, my friend? Says I am a likable person. And a woman would say that they even love me.
Woman,
Oh,
that would
oh
be a
hell, Mingo,
stretch,
quit all this
Mingo.
stupid jab. Oh, I didn't know you were gonna keep talking.
Oh, sorry, no. Go ahead.
Oh no, you finish. Mine's gonna be.
Oh, that was it. So I just said like woman, and well, Mingo, that's a stretch.
He just kind of grins at you.
Oh hell, man, quit all this jibber jab wasting boss man's time. Tell boss man what you know. Get on with it. Get on with it. Get on with it.
Just looks at you kind of like, my friend, I understand and speak English perfectly well, but I have no fucking idea what you're saying. That's the expression he trying to give you.
Crab walk up to him. Quit all your jibber jab. You mean that time, Mingo?
Like, I do not know why we keep him around, my friend. Anyone can make a bomb.
Ain't nobody can make bombs like Dickie can make bombs. Ain't nobody can do things that Dickie can do. And you better remember that, Mingo. Sort of shuffle away.
You remember too, my friend, that you must have a hand to throw that bomb. And with that, he whips his dual pistols out and spins them around fast as shit. Just does a little pistol arrow show, swirling around, changes hand, and puts them in opposing holsters.
I'm just gonna grab my dick. I don't need hands to do nothing to you, Mingo. Don't you forget that, Mingo Chavez.
Narrows his eyes at you a little bit and kind of giving you that spit and venom type look.
I'm just looking cockeyed because I'm imagining Fumbles is like the guy from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Are we jiggling or?
Yeah.
I don't look serious. I don't know.
But Mingo, he eventually settles back down into conversation with Harry, and Harry, of course, just remains. For the most part, Harry, he remains deadpan silent as an individual to begin with. So, when you're talking to somebody and they're real quiet, you know how those people get that mood and train of thought where you talk to someone and they ignore you and you immediately get all self-conscious and defensive. Like, what? Did I say something wrong? So he automatically brings that. He actually has a feature, monitoring, is whenever you socially interact with them, you have to make technically you're supposed to make a difficult willpower roll. And if you fail, you're either completely submissive or you're agitated with him based on how he presents himself. That's
thinking agitated is what we're leaning towards here.
Well,
nothing about Harry Doyle looks like a sub to me.
Yeah, well, no. His looks and his deadpan silence would make the submissive aspect in most cases. If he goes in, somebody's equally as ballsy, nerves of steel and stuff like that. Yeah, they would just get out. They'd be like, who's this asshole? Somebody's talking to you. But that's a good crowd control device, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But his deadpan silence prompts Mingo and trying to explain things more. He says, no, Harry. He says, you have known me for a long, long time, and I know that we bump heads. But I tell you what, this time Mingo, he has brought home the golden prize of all prizes. Harry looks, thinks his teeth, spits a little on the ground. Bull, of course, is just standing there, totally stalwart and silent, with his arms forward in front of him. And he's just waiting for any cue from Harry. It's like, you want me to beat his ass, whatever. Come on, Mingo, move towards me. I don't give a shit. He's a good guard dog. But Mingo goes, no, my friend. When I was in the coochie clutch with the rest of the men, he says, I made my contact. We talked there, and he told me. He says, now you know, for quite some time, the town of Mercy has been run by Marshal Braddock. Marshal Braddock, James T. Braddock. He's your typical hard-nosed, no-nonsense Wyatt Earp type of marshal. As I explain more about the town of Mercy, I'll interject accordingly. But he's almost Harry Doyle's equal, basically. But he's the current marshal of the town of Mercy and the surrounding region. But he goes, you know, he says, for a long time, Harry, says, Marshal Braddock, he runs the town of Mercy. And you know that he has good men, strong men, and he even has an army of mechs. He says, but you know what? He says, we can use this to our advantage due to the circumstances. He says, my contact, he tells me, he says, that their monthly payroll this month, it is not going to be guarded by an entire regime of troops. Harry cocks his head a little bit, actually intrigued this time. He just finally speaks. He goes, go on. He says, yes, I tell you, Harry, I tell you this. He says, it would seem that the Donner gang, the Donner party and the Trimmer gang, they have been raising their heads again, causing trouble for the people around town. Now, the Donner Party is a band of cannibal pharaohs, appropriately named from the previous Donner Party. Think of them as like your horde of raving lunatics. Now, the Trimmer gang is a band of pharaohs, but they're more organized, and they're kind of like a hybrid of industrial and military. They're known to possess underground mining devices, like, the underground boring devices, like Journey to the Center of Earth. Mm-hmm. And they're also known for explosives. He says, but there seems to be some kind of commotion. He says, with the Donner Party and this is the Trimmer gang. He says, no, I myself, I do not know what is going on. The two of them could be at odds and at war, or they could even be possibly joining forces. He says, all I do know is that Marshal Braddock's attention has been focused solely upon them and making sure that they do not kill the peoples of the surrounding territories. He says, my contact has also told me that due to this month's shipment, we only have a handful of crew in charge of guarding it. He says, I'm telling you, Harry, he says, we could strike, we could rob the stagecoach and have many, many kilos. Kilos are not drugs, but it's the monetary system for those of y'all ignorant about it. Basically, instead of having money, like dollar bills and shiny coins, they use a valuable metal source. We're going to say for all intents and purposes, it's going to be like, what do they call them? The Japanese money on the ring. They call them kuken or whatever. But it's basically a cog-shaped piece of metal with a hole in it, like a hexagonal hole in the center. The smallest size of them they call bits. For every 1,000 bits, it's what they call a kilo. And you would in turn either have 1,000 individual bits, or they actually have, you would assume, I would presume that they would have bigger size ones to represent larger denominations. Mm-hmm. But so his reference, we would have many, many kilos in our pockets.
So, Mingo, your plan is to rob a stagecoach that's bringing money to Braddock and his men. Is that right?
Yes, Mingo.
And once we have stolen that said money, what do you think is going to happen to all of us?
We will no longer be here.
You think Braddock is just going to lay down and let us take his money and not come after us?
I think that if this problem with the two gangs of pharaohs continues, he will not be in a position to do so. we could easily make our retreat and go to one of our other locations. Harry kind of looks, and it starts to dawn upon supplies are getting low, and usually, you know, most people when they start petering off and staying in one location, you can get stuck there. If you have enough money, you could theoretically start getting supplies and other stuff to move on in further locations. So, you know, it's, you know, to a bandit gang, you know, the notion seems quite appealing. You know, like, you know, if what he's saying is rich,
Sure.
is what, you know, what bandits do. You know,
But Zeke's always skeptical of these plans, and that's his view. Just like thinking, just stroking his long beak.
So basically, the response would, you know, be along the lines of, he says, Marshal Braddock would have bigger fish to fry, my friend. He says, we could easily get in, get the money, and move out before he even receives a word of our arrival.
Oh shit, man! Dickie like this idea. Dickie don't like Mingo too much, but Dickie like Mingo words. I get to blow something up. I don't care about the money. Take my kilo. I just want to blow some stuff up.
So Zeke says, Mingo, you said the Tremor Gang and the Dollar Party, correct?
Aye, that is what he told me.
What if we make it look like the Tremor Gang attacked that stagecoach?
You see, ideas already.
Mr. Dickey over here could bomb the living daylights out of it. What do you say, Mr. Dickey?
Here, I was gonna do it anyway, but Dickie think maybe down the part would be easier. We just gotta take some bites out of some people when they did.
Bull cuts you a very stern look, Dickie.
What? I ain't say we got bite them, Bull. I said maybe we cut them, make it look like that. You know? I ain't about to cannibalism, Bo. You know me, Bo.
He just ultimately relents and grunts and shakes his head negatory. Harry's still listening. You know.
But I can definitely blow that for you, man. I can blow that for you, boss, man. I only got one stick of dynamite, but we can probably get one down.
Like I said, he says, the fruit is right for the picking, my friend. All you do is climb the ladder and pick it. Harry's thinks for a moment. He goes, your contact. You trust him? He goes, of course I trust him, my friend. He says, I have met him several months back when we were last to this region. As I got to know him then, he seemed displeased with his job. I come back around, I meet him at the Coochie Clutch, we talk further, and that's what he tells me the news. It seems that he no longer wishes to be in the town of Mercy and wants to make a move of his own. He's even expressed interest in joining the gang.
More mouths to feed, eh, Mingo? More mouths to feed.
But with this bounty, we could feed many, many mouths, my friend.
Buy a lot of bombs, too.
Bombs, whores, horses? The sky's the limit.
Dickie just want bombs. Come on, boss. Pull the trigger, boss. I want to go blow some things up, boss.
Zeke thinks, and he's like, we could do with the money, Mr. Doyle. We could do with that money.
I reckon we could. I wouldn't mind sticking it to Marshal Braddock either. But I'm not going anywhere, just rushing headlong in. Thanks for a long time. He's just like, maybe we could recon.
Mingo, when does the stagecoach arrive?
He's like, oh, what he told me is correct. It's like clockwork as always. In roughly 1 week's time.
That should give us enough time for recon, Mr. Doyle.
How to go about it, though?
Dicky can go take some looks. Give me some of these fellows right here. I can go creep around and ask around. I'm a real charming man. You know me, boss. Mm-hmm.
Just looks at it. Not likely. Cookie's kind of like half listening, kind of chimes in. He goes, ain't nobody bother me when I went into town to buy supplies. So that could be your eyes. If someone wants to come with me, you could send a kid. Maybe. Oh no, not Doc, because he's got, you're all masked up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh hell, come on! You want me to come with you? Mm-hmm. We can say we was brothers. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Thanks, sure. And he says, well, listen, anybody can visit the whorehouse. Maybe we could get eyes on what the guard duty looks like from afar. Mad Mark, he kind of shines up. He goes, I've got good eyes. Or at least one of them. My ears aren't too shabby either. Harry nods. Starts to scratch his chin, thinking about the proposal a little bit more. Too many factors not known.
What say, Mr. Doyle? We keep an eye on the trail that the stagecoach is going to take. And then some of us keep an eye on Mr. Braddock and his men.
If we were to do it smart, we would hit this coach before it enters town.
That
Don't
makes more sense.
I like the idea of having half a dozen steam mechs on my ass. Their militia's not too bad either. Pretty good shots, if memory serves me right. I don't think I can make a decision without knowing if Mingo's contact's telling the truth.
You can't trust Mingo, boss. Can't trust Mingo. Not even good plans for Mingo. Mm-mm-mm.
I have never stirred no one wrong.
You did this wrong today, Bingo.
That was not me, that was Bill.
Bill's your boy, Mingo. Everybody knows Bill's your boy, Mingo. Mm-hmm. You're not fooling nobody. Mm-hmm.
He heard that we were riding into town, so over anxious, he chose to join on his own accord.
Mm-hmm.
Mingo seems to be getting a little aggravated at Harry. Hesitance and negativity. Starts getting a little agitated and starts shaking his head. He goes, I cannot believe you're going to do this. This is a good thing that the others are not here to see this, Harry. He says, I have done nothing but look out for this gang from day one. He says, I have put everybody's interests above my own. And I go out and I find this opportunity for us. And you just sit there and stare.
Interest above his own. Mingo care about Mingo.
You, my friend, need to watch your tongue. I have tolerated a lot from you. He says, no, when it comes to this, my words are solid, my words are true. He says, I tell you, the town itself, it is not going to be guarded nearly as bad as usual. All we have to do is formulate a strategy, attack the coach, rob it, and make off into the sunset.
That's what Boss Man trying to do. He trying to push Boss Man. Let Boss Man think. Boss Man never lead us wrong. No. Mm-hmm.
You really need to let me do do this, Hattie. You need to let me prove myself. I know we have had fallings out in the past, but you must do this. You must take me at my word, and let's do this. There's too many variables. I don't like it. Long pause, long breath, and he goes, still. Cupboards are just about bare. And our pockets empty. I don't like the idea of Cookie going into town by himself. Not too many here that I would send in with him. The kid could keep his head on his shoulders. I'd probably let him go in, but only for a supply run and to see how the layout is when it comes to guards. And if they have any of those damn medics walking around town. As for the rest of us, I'd probably send a small group, maybe even myself included, go to the whorehouse, enjoy a drink, a good cigar, and lots of watching. You can tell the guard shifts, learn the routines, how many men to expect. But if we do this, it's going to be nothing more than a reconnaissance mission.
Sounds like a good plan, Mr. Doyle.
I'll mull it over. You'll have a decision later this afternoon. Just realized I totally forgot something.
Dickie follow you into the gates of hell, boss.
Forgot here. We're gonna rewind time real quick.
Who the hell is that? That is somebody Dickie know.
There's your Mingo.
Mm.
Oh, God.
Suave looking, oozing machismo. He's hell with two guns, though.
Needs a little more chest hair.
Ah, man, he's a ladies' man.
He's got black fingernails. Oh, man.
Yeah, he's definitely metrosexual.
The fancy pants.
But yeah, that's the notions there. You can tell Mingo he's pleased at all. My Harry, just stonewalling him like he is and busting his balls on being so hesitant. Then again, you can't knock the guy for friggin' doing so. Now, for those of you interested, a little bit about the town of Mercy itself.
Okay.
Reason he might be hesitant in doing such thing is town of Mercy itself, like I said, is about maybe a 3.5 hour down into the northeast. It's a moderately sized conglomeration. Frontiersmen, your typical explorers, settlers, prospectors, and other laborers. Back when Fort Spine fell, which was probably about maybe a century ago, maybe less, maybe it's in between half a century ago. All the people that were scattered and dispersed were basically left for themselves, and as these, numerous tiny settlements trickled down, what didn't get assimilated into like the bandits groups, the feral groups, eaten outright or whatever. That's what they come to form the settlements. The town of Mercy was originally founded kind of the pun of the town's name is, it was originally founded because everyone deserves mercy out in the Badlands, if you're a good enough person. Nowadays, though, with Marshall Braddock, the way he runs things, it's ironically referred to as a town of mercy because he himself usually shows none when it comes to dealing with outlaws and criminals. Basically, whenever the people were dispersed and left with the spine, they escaped with what resources they could. And in addition to several steam mechs, the people of Mercy, they basically have, like I said, about a half a dozen steam mechs that they still use today, and they basically do their best and struggle to maintain and refurbish with replacement parts and whatnot. Mercy's not the only place in the immediately surrounding region. There's a couple other settlements of some mention of worth of mention. To the east, there's a place known as the Dead Rock Mines, essentially a series of tunnels and passages that
Hey,
still
Ian,
manage.
do you
Yeah.
have that map? I think you showed it to us last time.
The Westward map? Yeah, I can bring that up. It's not on the map, so. This is all improv, and we.
Oh no, just like you can just ping it so that you just get a sense of.
Yeah, like y'all are currently around here,
Hmm.
pretty deep in the Badlands. Fort Spine was up here. When it fell, people dispersed to all the directions. Now the town of Mercy is probably right about here, and to the east, this is the Dead Rock Mine. Series of decades old tunnels and passages that still manages to somehow eke out the production of stuff like quartz, iron, copper, and coal. Now, local rumor has it, though, that the mines are nearly played out, but if this is true or not, nobody really says anything for definite because, you find out the mines dried out or anything like that. To the south of Mercy, it's going to definitely be closer than where the town is from y'all's current position. There's a little tiny commune of basically hardcore and dedicated prospectors. The town is called Shanty. Haha, Shanty Town. But it's more akin to like a sizable hunting lodge than an actual community or village or anything like that. Basically serves as a place where the surrounding prospectors could come to share their findings. It's kind of like a relay station between the wilds and the minimal signs of civilization. They can come there, get a bath, eat, replenish their supplies, and even send word into the trickle down line of communication. Send word to Mercy that, oh yeah, I found this. No, I didn't find this. And if they found anything prominent, it in turn would get, dealt with. They would send riders out and stuff like that. But as far as any immediate sizable regions of population, Mercy's going to be your most. Now, granted, the further north you go and the more civilized you get, you to your lovely towns and places that have populations in the thousands. Mercy itself's probably got about maybe between 200 to 300 people total. It's currently run, like I said, by one Marshall Braddock, Jim P. Braddock. He has several deputies. If what Mingo's contact told you is correct, since the marshal's gone, he has placed his second most trustworthy deputy in command. That would be one Deputy Bryce. He is a very eager young man who is trying hard to prove himself and basically try to up himself and learn as much as he can. If what Mingo's contact has told him is correct, he will be basically in charge of a group of your basic town militia. The more more trained conscripts. And from what he told you, there's supposedly no mechs whatsoever. This threat's basically become so big that they sent everybody out. If this is true, you don't know. But he swears that that's what the information says. There's not going to be any mechs in town. It's going to be skeleton crew of town guard. Now the town layout itself, like I said, it's home about 200-300 people, but there's only very few prominent locations. So you have the whorehouse, the coochie clutch. You have an assayer's office there. Basically, you find your findings you can put there and put a claim in. There's the zone, like I said, called no man's land. It's basically when you enter town, because they have some rather strict laws in Mercy. All firearms are supposed to be immediately registered and surrendered upon entry. They do so at a place referred to as the dispensary. It's across from the town's barracks. In addition to that, there's supposedly an underground water reserve. That's the main reason Mercy is basically receiving funding, is there's an underground water source there. Mm-hmm. There's the marshal's office, which is across from the reserve barracks, which houses your local militia. There's a hotel y'all can remember called Manson's Mansion. His favorite motto is, "Tell him Charlie sent you." There's your local communal flop house called the old Ploppin' Squat. There's 2 saloons that are your most prominent. One's called the Drowned Sorrows, and because it's located next to a funeral home. And then there's Taggart's Regret. If you're wondering why it's called Taggart's Regret, it's because Taggart regrets not having bought and run a damn saloon years earlier. But like I said, I'll eventually finish a map when you actually start to do your strategy and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I guess it's the town of Mercy. If what he said is correct, you'll have a few guards, hopefully no opposition to go up against. As to his contact, that is going to be Demigod, Art's character. I'm assuming, fingers crossed, hence I'm saying it now, his concept is a mech operator. He is actually going to own a steam mech. But it's not what you're thinking. It's not a big badass juggernaut of friggin' destruction. He is going to be more along the lines of, you familiar with the movie Aliens? How she was, get away from her, you bitch. Yeah, his current job is he's living in his mech. So he's going to have like the old one-man clumpity clump, I lift heavy shit. But apparently, for whatever reason, he's pissed off with his current status. And he has chosen to say, fuck this town, I'm out of here. He says, here, you want to rob the coach? Let me in on the deal. I'll take my money and fucking go. Or if you'll take me on with you, I'll go with you too, because you're safe, And if and when he's watching this video, Demigod, hopefully that clicks, registers with you, and gives you some kind of motivation, understanding, concept on how you will be brought into play once the game begins. I'll probably have whoever goes to the Coochie Clutch meet up with Demigod, in addition to the internal session with going with Cookie to see if he can buy supplies, whatnot. To cover anything, ask any questions you can. Feel free to role play them if you want. I'll respond accordingly.
I think my stuff's pretty much answered.
Yeah. Zeke is just basically wants to know what his role is going to be. If so, Zeke will ask, Mr. Doyle, where do you want me to be? With the lookout, with Mark, or with you in the coochie clutch, as they say.
Actually, I was thinking if we send Cookie and the kid in during the day, the rest of us can go at night. You're a pretty slinky little bastard. Maybe you can try to sneak your way into town, test the water, so to speak.
I like that, Mr. Doyle. I can definitely do that.
I wouldn't send anybody other than yourself, though. Too many people draws too much attention.
That makes sense.
Well, what you want Dick to do, boss? If Dick don't put down explosive trap, get the whole, blown up, right, boss?
He looks at you long and hard. Finally shakes his head. Get laid for all I care.
Oh man, Dick might actually blow up the whole coochie clan. She's not careful, boss.
You'll not blow up anything. You'll leave your damn grenades here if I have to make you leave them.
Oh man.
We're not going into town to attack it. We're going into town to simply examine it.
Dickie's gonna look really upset and just begrudgingly nod his head and sort of slink away.
Nobody kills anyone unless I say so.
Will do, Mr. Doyle.
Cool. So the central plan will be whenever we resume is Cookie, Chris, go to try and buy supplies. Rest of y'all go to the Coochie Clatch and check the river on Ezekiel. Try sneaking about town. Means when we join up in the next session, hopefully the reconnaissance mission will go well. And then we can attempt to rob the stagecoach. In theory, reconnaissance will rather expediently. And then it will be your stagecoach battle.
Sweet.
Because I doubt very seriously that you'll go into town. That's what most people did, was try to get a coach before it got into town. And that should be interesting in itself, to see how vehicles work with y'all. Because the coach itself,
I got a question.
yeah.
Do we have anything around I could use to maybe make some homemade shit too?
Like, what are you trying?
It's a homemade bomb. A small one.
You got enough horse shit. Gunpowder you would eat in ammo reserves. But you got enough stuff to make maybe something with proper rolls which we can handle out of game. You could probably make stuff like smoke pots. You know, pitch and smoke pots. You can toss, add concealment, infusion.
Because I'm thinking with something like that, where it would get an attention grabber, you know, like either a noisemaker or what you're saying,
Yeah.
that could be used as a distraction for when we do the caravan shit.
Now, if Cookie manages to get supplies, he can probably pick up stuff like nails and stuff like that. And you can like make some fragmentation grenade equivalents.
Yeah, but Harry said I can't blow nothing up. I gotta work
I'm
around.
talking about for robbing stagecoach.
Oh.
Yeah.
That you can blow shit up all day long, dude.
As far as like
You gonna make some pop-offs?
yeah, like I don't know about a heavy made fucking RPG.
No,
So-
I'd be happy to just make some shitty nail bombs and stuff, or some. If we know what path the caravan's taken, and set some traps around it.
Yeah, normally what they
Hey, let me know if you want me to stop the recording at this point, or are we? Is this still going to be part of the discussion for the other guys?
well, no, it's cool. It's covering it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because normally what they send out it's usually got your typical layouts. You got like 2 men on top piling into the thing, and it's usually drawn by robotic horses, like steam mech horses. Or no, yes, done by the I can't remember what they're called. It's a mule. That's a model make of mule. It's basically it's autonomous horses, and it's like 2 men on top, and it's got a reserve contingent. And it's somewhat used for transporting people, but it's mostly like a supply wagon. If they send that like they're supposed to, it could very well be a straightforward fight. Meaning that y'all's numbers and proper tactics, you can probably take it pretty easy. But yeah, this is one thing y'all can discuss too. As far as tactics and stuff go, once the recon covers. Definitely get an idea in your heads too what you like to do. But
No, I was just agreeing. Yeah, that makes sense.
there goes
Yeah.
we're asking you. But yeah, there's definitely the possibility to make stuff. This is homemade fragmentation grenades, smoke and pitch. I guess if you pick up liquor pretty quick, you can make fire, smoke, and pitch.
Molotovs.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah. So Zeke's Dickie, why don't you make a shopping list for Cookie here to get when he's in town?
Stuff that wouldn't hopefully draw too much attention. 75 pounds of nails. 30 gallons of moonshine.
I just want him to get just get a good amount of liquor and something that burns. That's all I want. Okay, get all this, but don't give none of this to Mom. We can get back. Get right to me. Get right to me. Okay, Cookie.
I always thought it was fun, interesting question about towns that used to do that, where they said firearms prohibited. Do those places actually sell shit like that inside of them? And if so, how would you handle purchasing them?
You can pick it up on your way out.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Pretty much would be the equivalent to it. Would all be like strictly friggin' restricted. It's like you'd be able to check it out.
It's like duty free. They give it to you when you leave town.
Yeah. How would they let you test it? Do they have a firing range in town?
You can just get fucking swindled. Yeah, this will be gas and good. It's loaded, right? Fuck.
Say with common conceptualization and understanding. Like they would give you a demonstration of it. You get a feel for it.
Firing pin was fucking filed down.
Probably have some heavy guards inside the place too. What? He's test firing? They got their guns already cocked up.
I thought there was no guns in town. We got a permit. Fuck you.
We're conscripts, bitch. Get over it.
I got a license to carry, motherfucker. What do you got? Jack shit. Shut up and find out how this gun works, you dumb son of a bitch.
Trying to think too if you could go in, if gunpowder or ammunition would be a feasible purchase or not. I think that would honestly, any kind of gun purchase would probably get that.
All I need
eyeball.
for Cookie to give me some fucking t-shirts and some liquor, and we've got Molotovs, so...
Yeah, booze, nails, and shit, it seems appropriate to his trade, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Rest of you just wing it, and hope you don't waste resources.
I'm just gonna sit behind a fucking rock and throw bottles of flaming beer over it the whole time, so...
So, as we wind this down, and for those crew, try to think how you would rob an armored stagecoach. Because if your reconnaissance is done right, and everything seems to be okay, nobody flubs up and gets caught and put in a pokey, you will be attempting
like that.
to rob a stagecoach for next play. Should be interesting. Those you can't hurt vehicle, definitely be going after the people inside of the vehicle or on top of the vehicle. Should be fun too, because I was reading up on the difference between vehicles and mechs. It's actually completely different. Because when me and Demi were originally talking, or discussing on Discord about what skills you should have, I started reading the vehicle section, and vehicles are a pain in the ass because when they move, they keep going. Like when you accelerate, you're actually accelerating. Bringing them to a complete stop is like extremely difficult. It takes time and distance, just like in real driving.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, well, damn, that would make mechs. Like, if you use the rules that they have in the vehicle stuff, like his mech, he would have to move like 32 places every turn just to make an attack. Like, if he goes to top speed, he starts going bang, 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 bang. I was like, what the hell would you do? Just run around in a circle, time shooting shit? But luckily they differentiate between that. They basically say, okay, max move this speed, their movement rating, and then if you want to get an extra burst, you can get an extra burst. And it takes this far. Basically, it usually works out the one movement action can either get you going normal movement or slow you down to a complete stop. But it should be interesting, especially to see how a big workloader would help fare against a stagecoach. Because you might be able to grab a hold of it and try to topple it or flip it or something if you can get a hold of it. It's just a matter of trying to get... Well, I'm not going to discuss tactics, that's up to y'all.
Right. I'm going to pause the recording now.
Yeah, you can go. We'll go ahead and wrap it here.